everybody. Welcome to Speed Sport live from the Knoxville Nationals, presented by Toyota. I'm Ralph Sheheen, high atop the Brian Clausen Tower here at the National Sprint Car Hall of Fame, outside of turn number 2 at the Knoxville Raceway on the property of the Marion County Fairgrounds in Knoxville, Iowa. Well, there she is right behind me, one of the most special racetracks you'll find anywhere in the country, the half-mile dirt known as the Knoxville Raceway. This is a very special place, and help explain why, joining me now is the editor of Speed Sport, Mike Kerchner. Mike, this racetrack is very unique. A big part of the reason why is that black Mississippi mud dirt.
Yeah, it's something else. It's like no other dirt track in the country, and it provides the best racing in the country, particularly for our beloved sprint cars.
Now, this track will give us 3 different grooves of racing.
Oh, it certainly will, and we saw that on the opening night of the Nationals. It was just terrific, and it's going to be more of the same on Saturday night, and I expect people to move from back in the pack toward the front, especially with a 50-lap feature.
And if you're going to win here at the Knoxville Nationals, you have to be able to utilize all 3 of those grooves, because there's times where the cushion is where you want to be, you have to be good at running the bottom, and you have to be able to slide job through that middle.
Oh, absolutely. If you can't run the bottom here, you cannot win. If you can't run the top here, you cannot win the race, because you have to run where the other people are not.
Which makes it very challenging for the crew chiefs as they try to dial that car in, especially with the break in the main event on Saturday night.
Oh, absolutely. There's a lot of tweaks to these cars that need to be made to run those different grooves, and changing track conditions. You just never know what it's going to be like by the time the feature comes around about 10:30 on Saturday night.
Well, the racetrack is a big part of why this place is special, but so is everything, Mike, that goes on behind us and around us here. As you can see, the fans are everywhere on the streets, over here on Highway 14 and in the pit areas. There's a huge party that makes Knoxville so special as well.
Well, the people are wonderful. You see them once a year, and they're your friends if you only see them once a year. And just that the cars are parked in different parking lots, grocery stores, filling stations, car dealerships, and they're being worked on at all of those places. And that just makes the atmosphere really something unique.
To win this race, you win well over 150,000, 185,000, I believe it is.
That's
this
correct.
year to the winner. But you also get a very special 6-foot-tall trophy, and that's really what everybody wants. And on the top of that trophy is a plaque that lists all the previous winners. And that is maybe the other thing that makes this place so special. Who has won here, and the rare air that comes with that.
Oh, there's no question about it. The winners, Kenny and Greg Weld, Doug Wolfgang, Donny Schatz, Steve Kinser, Sammy Swindell, the list goes on and on.
And one of the names that people think might have a strong chance of being on that trophy this year is Rico Abreu. And when we come back with Speed Sport live from the Knoxville Nationals presented by Toyota, we're going to go to the parking lot right over there behind the Brian Clausen Tower. That's where a lot of the teams are getting ready before they come into the racetrack. And we're going to sit down and chat with Rico about running the Knoxville Nationals. Stay with us.
I love just being a part of the history that this event has created, and look to be one of those guys up there on the podium finish at the end of this thing.
It's our Daytona 500, our Indy 500, our Super Bowl all into one.
In Knoxville is just amazing. I mean, the whole town, the Hall of Fame, 25,000 plus people here. All your friends are here. Amazing racing, huge purse. All that combined makes it so special.
Hi everybody, Ralph Sheheen with you back here at the Knoxville Nationals. We're in the parking lot back behind the Speedway, where a lot of the teams will prep their cars before moving into the infield when it's time to go racing on race night. And this entire segment is brought to you by our good friends at El Bandito Yankee Tequila. And one driver who knows a lot about El Bandito is our good buddy Rico Abreu. They're a sponsor of yours, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. Jim Bob and everybody doing an amazing job on the marketing side of El Bandito Yankee Tequila, and very fortunate for them to be on our race car this year. And and it's just it's really important for me to do a really good job for them and get them in victory lane, which we have a few times this year. We've come up with a cool slogan. It's so fast, it's criminal, as in El Bandito Yankee Tequila is so smooth, it's criminal.
Well, you grew up in a wine family, and there's got to be, it's not the same thing, but there's got to be some similarities between the two, right?
I feel like it does the same job. But just really thankful for this partnership with these guys, and they do an amazing job, like I said.
Well, I'm sure they're pretty thrilled with the job you've been doing. When it comes to racing a sprint car this year, you're one of only 2 drivers who's won in every one of the top 3 premier series in sprint car racing. You and Kyle Larson have both won in the World of Outlaws, the High Limit Series, and the All-Stars. What is the reason for all this speed all of a sudden?
I got to put a lot of this on my team. These guys that work on my car. We got Rick Warner on our car again this year, Zach Middlebrooks and Brady Forbrook. They all do an amazing job preparing my car and bringing it to the racetrack 100%, and allows me to just get in good position to win these races.
Can you put into words what that chemistry means? I mean, you've had great crew chiefs in the past, but this is really clicking now.
It is, and it's really fun, and it's been a really good experience for me, and allowed me to mature a lot as a race car driver and focus on patience and just putting myself in the right spot. Like I said, my team does an amazing job, and I'm really lucky to be racing with such good guys.
You know, for anybody that watches sprint car racing, especially here in Knoxville, there doesn't seem to be anything patient about it. I mean, it's called a sprint car for a reason. So what kind of patience are you really talking about?
Just slowing things down in critical situations while we're racing. But, this format that the Knoxville Nationals has built, you got to go. You got to advance every time you're on the track. Every lap matters. With this 8-car inversion, points are really crucial for putting yourself in a good spot for Saturday night. And tonight our focus is on getting qualified well and getting in that top 4 in the heat race and advancing to the A main. And once we're there, we got 25 laps to figure out how to win the race.
Yeah, the race itself on Saturday night broken down into 2 big segments, right? I've been told by a lot of guys, like Donny Schatz, who's won it numerous times, that the first segment doesn't really matter so much. It's just that last 25 where you really got to be ready to go.
It is, and I feel like it honestly comes down to those last 10 laps. We've as a team, we've grown and gotten a little bit better, and this is one track I've put a lot of focus into, where I, as a driver, have needed to do a lot of work here. Just it's a very technical track, and it's taken me some time to learn how to race around this place, with the bottom of the racetrack being so unique. And I feel like if you can't figure out how to run the bottom, you won't really have a shot at winning the Knoxville Nationals. So we've come here in the past, and I've just really put focus into hitting my marks consistently, and and Ricky Warner, having him as a crew chief, gives me all the confidence in the world to be able to do those things. And they've had my car feeling very comfortable for me and on a consistent basis, which allows us to come in here with a lot of confidence right now.
Okay, so I've watched you run the top. I know that's flat out. You just hammer that thing down, hold it wide open, get your elbows up, and let it rip, right? How do you run the bottom?
I think it just comes with footwork and using the brake pedal as a tool in our car to keep your car loaded. It tends the Knoxville Raceway tends to be a flatter surface than what we're used to racing on, with the bankment wise, and it can really unload your car when you get in there unbalanced. And the brake is used as a tool to keep your car loaded and keep speed under it, and your torque tube driven into the ground. And it's just, you got to be really finesse on the throttle pedal when the track conditions get slick.
So you're good on your feet. Who knew Rico Abreu's a dancer, right? What's your favorite dance then? You got a good move?
I just know how to move my feet fast.
Okay, so as we get ready for Saturday night, if there's one reason I should believe Rico Abreu is going to be the guy on Saturday night, take that 6-foot trophy home, what is it?
I got the best team in the business right now working on my race car, and they believe in me, and that's all that matters to me.
And when it's all said and done, then we celebrate with some El Bandito Yankee Tequila?
I'm ready for it.
Folks, El Bandito Yankee Tequila bringing you this great interview with Rico Abreu, who's going to be one of the top guys to look out for come Saturday night. And then he's going to go celebrate with some Yankee Tequila from El Bandito. Remember, enjoy it responsibly when you're around the racetrack. Our El Bandito breakout moment of the race from Wednesday night is Donny Schatz taking the big win. Boy, you got that thing to the high side at the end of the race, and it really wanted to eat up there and found a ton of speed.
El Bandito breakout. That's cool. Man, I don't know what you say. My car was awesome everywhere. Could really made up a lot of ground on the bottom. There was laps where it threw stuff out in the middle. I could catch that until we wore it out, and then at the end, once I got there, I just got up there to see if I could make speed and force some other guys to try to change their lines a little bit, and it felt really good. So guys done a great job. The car's really balanced everywhere. Hopefully we can do that again Saturday.
You said earlier in the press conference that the middle of the summer the track changes quite a bit and you feel like your car comes alive. How is that?
Well, I think when you're racing it, when the times aren't always track record speed, I think everybody can run around wide open with the tires stuck. It's when the tires start to slip a little bit that you change your driving style and what you do as a driver. And I think if you look at, take a look at the track record, it's 14.3, and tonight quick time was 15.3 something. So we're a second slower. That's what I mean by that is, and it's not going to get faster from there. So the track starts to slow down, and I think that has a big impact on how you race, how you're able to race, making it through those heat races and the things you do. And I think that's just more suited to my style of racing and how we do things at TSR.
Well, Donnie's in great shape now for Saturday night here at the Knoxville Nationals as he chases his 12th Knoxville Nationals championship. Perfect time off now to celebrate with a little El Bandito as he gets ready for Saturday here at the Nationals. Kyle, you're going to be starting on the pole come Saturday night, and you said you don't necessarily like starting on the pole. How come?
I think a lot of times when you start, second row or third row on back, you have to move around to pass people. You find different lanes, accidentally or not. So, or I think a lot of times when you're in the lead, you get to a line and you get maybe sometimes too comfortable in it, and you get caught off guard, in traffic or on a restart, stuff like that. So, not that I'm going to give up the lead to learn any, but I think sometimes it's better to not be leading. But it is also tough to pass sometimes on half miles. So I'll take the track position for sure.
Hey everybody, it's Ralph Sheheen here at the post-race celebration of the Knoxville Nationals, night number 2 in the books. And our El Bandito Yankee Tequila breakout moment of the race goes to Carson Macedo for winning night number 2. How'd you put this all together here tonight?
Man, it was a tough race there. I was, at the beginning of the race, when the track got kind of fast around the top, we were all kind of strung out up there. I didn't know if I was going to be able to get by them guys, but it just played out the right way. Was able to kind of grab the bottom there in 3 and 4 and hit it real nice, squeeze down the front stretch, and then slide the 6 car. Once I got into second, I was nervous that I wasn't going to be able to get by Macri. He was pretty fast on the top, and just had that one restart, and he kind of got hung out in the slick there, and I was able to squeeze the bottom and get by him there into turn 1 and beat him, off of turn 2, and that just was kind of the move of the race, I feel like. Once I got to the top there in the lead, it was just fast up there. My car was pretty good up in open air, and just felt incredible once I got to the lead. So thankful for this JJR team. Philip, Clyde, and Nate do an incredible job, and thankful to get a win. Last time we were here at Knoxville, we wrecked and we caught on fire and everything else. So to come back here and win after a couple months is special, and definitely don't take it for granted.
So you got a crew chief who's won this race twice. How much of a help is that for you thinking about what's coming?
Yeah, like I said in the press conference there, I think he's the best. I think Philip is just incredible at his job. He's exceptional. He's the owner of JJR. He's a leader. He's just a good guy. And we were a little off there in qualifying. I felt like we weren't like our normal JJR deal where we're just kind of slot hard and my right rear has tons of grip. But then he made some adjustments there for the heat. We got better, and then I kind of gave some feedback. And then like the minute we started the feature, I'm like, man, this thing's awesome. And he just did a great job, and I lean on him a lot. I remember coming here in 2018 running this car after Jason Johnson had his accident, and I had no idea about anything, and him trying to lean on me, asking me, what do you think? What do you think of the car? And me saying, just do whatever you normally do, because I got no idea what I'm doing, and I know you do. So I just tried to drive as hard as I could after that, and we had success that way. And I've learned a lot since then, but Philip's one of the best, and I love working with him.
Phil Dietz, Carson Macedo, Jason Johnson Racing. They're going to be teaming up together come Saturday night. Hopefully they can get the Knoxville Nationals trophy to take home after the A-Main. Welcome back to Speed Sport, live from the Knoxville Nationals, presented by Toyota. We've got some great partners working with us this year here in Knoxville to help bring you this show. Toyota and El Bandito, who we've already introduced you to, and a new partner in Buzz Bicycles. premier maker of electric bicycles. I've had a Buzz bicycle to ride around here in Knoxville all week, and it has been so much fun. And you can get one to take to the races next time you go. They're real easy to travel with, and once you get there, you just hop on board and ride off. Go to buzzbicycles.com if you'd like to learn more. We have a special Speed Sport promo code there to get you a nice discount. $100 off any purchase of $500 or more right now at buzzbicycles.com. Just put in the promo code SpeedSport100. I got on my bike and I rode over to the parking lot just behind the Brian Clausen Tower here, where a lot of the teams are pitted before they enter into the pit area for the night of racing. And I caught up with Phil Dietz, who's the crew chief for Carson Macedo, to find out what you have to do to a 410 sprint car setup-wise to maybe win here at the Knoxville Nationals like he's done twice already in his illustrious career. A World of Outlaws sprint car is probably one of the most uncontrollable wild beasts you'll find anywhere in motorsports. Yeah, you got that gigantic wing sitting on top of a car that weighs 1,400 pounds with the driver inside. This one comes with a small block Chevy pumping out some 900 horsepower, and to get it all to the ground, well, you got a right rear tire with a footprint the size of Texas. And the man that's going to help his driver, Carson Macedo, get there is Phil Dietz. Now, Phil, you've won this race twice, so you know a little bit about the setup of these cars, getting Jason Johnson and David Gravel to victory lane. What's the key to setup to win the Nationals?
I would say the most important thing is preparation. You know, we put a lot of time and hours into prepping for Nationals back at the shop, and you know, we have a pretty good notebook to work off of from previous years, but it seems like each year something's a little bit different. You know, obviously the weather can, you know, change the scenario up and cause you to make some adjustments to your setup. But yeah, I'd say preparation is what it's all about.
We hear a lot of talk about stagger. That right rear is so much bigger than everything else on the car. How much of a key is the little changes in stagger make on one of these cars?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like, you know, I think if you make several little changes, it ends up being a big change overall. But, you know, we typically, if we want to tighten our car up, we usually make a big swing at it. We don't just, you know, kind of creep up on it. So, yeah, again, I think when you take in everything, you know, stagger, you know, what you run for torsion bars, obviously shocks, your wing package, and everything all combined just makes a big difference.
Aero is a big part of running here in Knoxville because the speeds are so high around this big half mile. Your driver can move that top wing forward and back from inside the cockpit. How much do you talk with him about that, or do you just leave that up to him?
So we kind of have a baseline that we start with, and then at that point, you know, it's up to him to kind of move the wing around and put it to where he can get the car best balanced. You know, back to aero, that's really critical the beginning of the night, especially when it comes to qualifying. You know, obviously you want to try to trim out as much as you can to reduce the amount of drag and lay down the fastest lap you can. So, you know, we do spend a lot of time with that. You know, we run Vortex, and we've worked with Linton Jeffrey quite a bit over the years, and you know, I feel like we have a package that's you know, pretty competitive, and we're looking forward to this week.
Now, I said 900 horsepower. How legit a number is that? Are guys way above that?
Yeah, I definitely, you know, this day and age, we're definitely over 900. But the thing is, like, you know, obviously we make plenty of power, but it's all about putting the power to the ground. So even though it makes a huge number, you know, when the track gets slick, that kind of goes out the window, and it's more about, you know, traction and putting the tires to the ground.
So there's going to be a break in this race and then a final sprint to the finish of some 25 laps or so. How much do you change? Obviously, it depends on how the car is performing, but going into it, you're already thinking ahead, I'm going to do at least this, this, and this. How much of that is there?
It depends. You know, the first 25 laps, I watch really close on lap times, and not only that, but what the track is doing. I know one year the track first half started off slick, and then the second half started to take rubber. So obviously the last thing you'd want to do is tighten your car up when there's grip coming in. So those are all things we kind of watch, and you know, if we see the times fall off quite a bit the first half of the race, then you know, we're prepared to make those changes and hopefully get it better the second half.
As a crew chief, Phil Dietz has won this race twice, going for number 3 this year here at the Knoxville Nationals. Phil Dietz would be a great guy to have spinning your wrenches if you're trying to win the Knoxville Nationals. He's already done it twice with Jason Johnson Racing, with drivers David Gravel and, of course, Jason Johnson himself. He's got a shot again this year with Carson Macedo. And you know what? I'm starting to get a little bit hungry, and as we go to break, I'm going to jump back in my Buzz bicycle and take you around Knoxville and show you some of the best places to eat here in town. And don't forget, go to buzzbicycles.com, put in that promo code, SpeedSport100, and get $100 off your purchase of $500 with Buzz Bicycles. We'll be right back. Arguably the best restaurant in all of Knoxville is the Rib Shack. It's delicious. If you like to find your favorite driver or team having lunch or dinner, chances are pretty good they're right inside of here. I know our Speed Sport crew eats here all the time, a lot of it because of the quality of the food, but also it's perfectly located right behind the National Sprint Car Hall of Fame and Museum. Now, if you want to get yourself a Buzz bike like I did to cruise around the Nationals, go to buzzbicycles.com right now. Use the Speed Sport promo code SpeedSport100 and get $100 off your purchase of $500 or more at buzzbicycles.com. I'm going inside. I'll see you later. Back here at the Knoxville Nationals with Speed Sport live from, presented by Toyota. Speaking of Toyota, they've obviously had great success racing in America with victories in NHRA and NASCAR competition, along with USAC midgets all across the country. And now just 2 years ago, they entered 410 sprint car racing. They have two cars competing here at the Knoxville Nationals under the Roth Motorsports banner with drivers James McFadden and Buddy Kofoid. And between the two of them, they've won 6 times already this year with that 410 powered sprint car, and they look to get a Knoxville Nationals title as well. Earlier this week, I had an opportunity to catch up with both James and Buddy to talk about the progress of the Toyota 410 sprint car engine. Buddy, tell me about the new Toyota sprint car engine, how it's performing in sprint car competition.
Yeah, it's been really positive and really strong, I think. Certainly with me being a part of Toyota for the last few years now, I'm excited to be a part of it and to finally be able to run it. So, they run really well, and continue to develop them and make them better with the help of Ryder and Speedway, of course. And Toyota won't give up on them, and they'll certainly be very good. And I mean, they already are now, but they'll keep it going just like they did with the midget program years ago. So there's some differences between the riders or speedways or different combinations we've been able to try, and I feel like we have a really solid motor for here for Knoxville, and not a lot different than what I've been used to.
Having been in this car for a while now, you've had a chance to race on some different styles of racetracks and see how the Toyota engine is going to perform on bigger tracks and shorter tracks. What do you really like about that Toyota engine? Where does it deliver? Really, the more I get used to it now, it's more the normal for me than what I've been used to with the other motors. But I guess when I first got into it, there was some minor differences, but now I've gotten used to it, and the power feels very similar, if not more in some cases, than what I've been used to. And but for me as a driver, I look for maybe how smooth it is, or having a sense of the top end that it has from one motor to the next, or just little things like that. So now that we've gotten to run a handful of the different Toyotas that there's available right now, we've been able to kind of pick and choose or feel the differences, and that's why I'm excited for what we have for Knoxville. You've been a part of Toyota's racing program and their development program for quite a while, coming up through the midget ranks and so forth. How strong a program is that for a driver looking to make this their career?
Yeah, I feel like no matter what you want to do, whether it's NASCAR or midgets or sprint cars or late models or all the other forms of racing that Toyota is a part of, I feel it's a really strong background to have in your back pocket. And if you can have their support, I feel like they won't give up on you if you don't give up on them. And as long as you work hard and do what you need to do, they'll be right there and they'll fight with you. And of course, also they have their performance center in Mooresville, which is a huge, I think, benefit versus the other manufacturers that Toyota has. So there's a lot of great partners that they have. And Mobile One was always one that I was associated with and still proud to be with. So there's just a lot of very positive things if you can attach yourself to Toyota.
James, you've had a chance to race the Toyota sprint car engine now a while. What do you think? How's the progress coming?
Yeah, I feel like the last couple of months were leaps and bounds from where we were. Great product. Obviously, my half-mile program stepped up a lot since I've had one in the car. So, to win 3-4 half-mile tracks this year is something that I'm really happy about, and I think I can contribute a lot to that to the Toyota engine. So, pumped to be able to use them, hopefully we can do them justice.
What does the Toyota sprint car engine do really well?
It seems to just keep pulling. By the end of the straight, it almost tells you to keep giving it more throttle. Like, I want more. So, not a lot of engines do that. So, I think that's a really big positive at places like Knoxville and Eldora and places like that. So, yeah, really excited when I get halfway down the straight for an engine to keep trucking. So, yeah, I think they've done a really good job with the development side of things so far, and it's been good.
Toyota is a company that's always fully invested in whatever they do. How good does that make you feel as a driver to know that when you feel something that you want to work on or change, they're going to do it for you?
Yeah, absolutely. A big part of the reason of staying, being with Roth and staying with Roth for this year was the involvement with Toyota. I know what they do. They do everything right. You look at their midget program and their NASCAR program and see how successful that is. So for me, it was a no-brainer to be a part of their program, and it's a privilege.
Obviously, one of the big things everybody involved with Toyota would like to do is win the Knoxville Nationals. Is this engine ready to do it?
Absolutely. The driver needs to be now.
And don't forget, Daniel Lisowski drove a Roth Motorsports entry to victory lane here in Knoxville. Maybe this year it'll be James or Buddy in a Toyota-powered Roth car, parking it, as Brian Clausen would have said, in victory lane here at Knoxville this year. We're back with more of Speed Sport live from the Knoxville Nationals, presented by Toyota. Steve Kinser, arguably the greatest of all time when you're talking about winged sprint car racing, won 20 World of Outlaw championships and 12 times here at the Knoxville Nationals. Now, Donny Schatz is closing in on that Knoxville Nationals win record. He got his 11th just a year ago. We had an opportunity to catch up with Donny and talk about what it would mean to get number 12 here in 2023. Donny, I know you're not necessarily a stats guy, but you are a fan of the sport and a historian of the sport in a lot of ways. 12 wins here in Knoxville would tie you with Steve Kinser, a record that a lot of people thought would never be obtained. Have you thought much about that lately?
Well, it's in the back of your mind, but honestly, if it never happens, it is what it is. It's when you go to win this race, you just you have a desire and a dream to win it one time. Anything after that is it's like icing on the cake. You feel pretty privileged to be able to just win it once, and to me, it's pretty surreal to be able to be in that same company as him. So. It's something that it floats around in there, but I know if I start thinking about it, it'll never happen, because I never expected to get to this point in my career. So we'll just try to block it out and not even think about it. It's just you just have to go at it like any other race, just like we've done here 25 times. So that's the way I'm going to attack it.
Is that the way you've approached all the previous 11 victories? You weren't thinking about it. You were just driving it, no different than you did race number 1 that you won.
You know, when you get thinking about things, you know, you really don't race any different. You don't do anything any different for a Knoxville Nationals win over a weekly show here. It's just the way you race and the way you attack things. It's part of how you race with the World of Outlaws day in, day out. You have to live in the moment and get past it when it's done, whether it's a win or a loss, and go on. So yeah, I treat it that way. I treat it just like it's any other race, and I can tell you the butterflies get a little bit bigger after it's over, and you know you got the checkers. But to get to that point, you just have to treat it like any other event.
How much has your strategy during the race changed over time?
It has changed quite a bit when you basically can put new tires on at halfway, and you have these segments. You know, really what happens in the first part doesn't really matter. It's all about, you know, you're going to come in and they're going to probably put 4 new shocks on it. They're going to put tires on it. They're going to fill it with fuel, and you can make adjustments. To me, that changes a lot of what you do. I wish it would, you know, we could just run on the same pair of tires the whole time, and guys have to manage their tires. You know, but you don't. It's just wide open as hard as you can go for whatever it is, 25 laps or 27 laps before the break. So that's changed it a little bit, but there's a lot of things have to happen to get to that Saturday night, and I think that's, you know, that having a race 50 laps split into 2 segments is really different, but the rest of the week is still the same as it's always been.
You know, of those 11 that you've won here, you've had to go through some different formats to get them. Steve pretty much raced the same format for each of the 12 that he won. Do you think a little bit more, I don't want to say of yourself, but proud of yourself for being able to win it in such a wide variety of formats?
I don't know that there's really been that many formats. You know, we've still had the inverting heats. You know, the qualifying nights are what the whole week's about. If you can't get yourself started there, I think one year we did have to run the B main, and we won from the B, which was, I think that was a pretty stout performance to be able to do that. I don't know that anybody's done that, but I honestly don't know what to say about the formats. I think it's, you know, they maybe went from 10 inverting heats to 8, so there isn't anybody going to touch what Steve's done. There's no question about that, and he did it in a time that created what we have here today, so you can't take that away from him.
When you think about Knoxville, can you tell me what it means to you to be a Knoxville Nationals winner?
Well, it's a great sense of pride. I can tell you, running second the multiple times we did, I kind of felt like it owed me, and that's really bad on my part to feel that way. It doesn't owe anybody anything. This is the sprint car capital of the world. You know, I figured out how to not win it too many times, and then once you finally do, it's man, it's a great feeling. If I had to hang my helmet up today, I can look back and say, man, I won the Nationals. I won 11 Nationals, and you can be proud of those things. But while we're here in the moment and we all want to be competitive and we're all going, you don't think of those things, and you just want to be competitive. And so we haven't been as competitive as we want to be all season. So, you know, we got ourselves a Kings Royal victory, but Knoxville, we got our work cut out for us, probably as much as we've ever had. So if things don't go well, I think you pull the victories out of the bank and say, well, you probably appreciate them that much more when things don't go right. But like I said earlier, you try not to get too wrapped up in how many you've won, and because there's still more you haven't won than you've won. But to be able to do that here it's pretty special. But like I said, I'm going to try to keep that at bay until I step away from racing, and then I'll probably gloat on it a little bit.
Well, if Donny is able to win his 12th here this year, he will get paid $185,000 for winning the 50-lap feature come Saturday night here at the 62nd annual running of the Knoxville Nationals. The other thing he's going to get is a 6-foot-tall trophy, and it is one of the coolest trophies in all of motorsports. Here's what it looks like. Welcome back to Knoxville, everybody. Ralph Sheheen here with you for more Speed Sport live from the Knoxville Nationals, presented by Toyota. You know, earlier this summer, I was very humbled to be inducted into the class of 2023 here at the National Sprint Car Hall of Fame, which is right below us here atop the Brian Clausen Tower. Earning a way into the Hall of Fame here in Knoxville is not an easy thing to do, as Executive Director Bob Baker explains. Bob, here we are inside literally the Hall of Fame portion of the National Sprint Car Hall of Fame and Museum. How many people are enshrined in here right now?
We have 429 National Sprint Car Hall of Fame inductees, and believe it or not, over 25% of our inductees are from the state of California.
Wow, that's amazing. This operation has been going for how long now?
The actual Hall of Fame was founded in 1986, but the museum we're in right now didn't get built until 1991. For some reason, 5 seems to be our lucky number. It took 5 years from the beginning in 1986 until the museum opened in 1991, and that was about the amount of time it took to raise the money for the Brian Clausen Suite Tower to get built. So 5 seems to be our lucky number.
And downstairs, some of the most incredible race cars I've seen anywhere. How often do you turn the content over?
Bill Wright is in charge of everything inside the museum, and we do a special event every year from the beginning of the season in April through October. This year we're doing a track tribute to Williams Grove Speedway, but the other cars come and go fairly frequently, usually about every 30 to 60 days. There are cars coming into the museum and cars leaving the museum, and pictures being moved along the walls with those cars. Driver mannequins and driver uniforms are being changed out. So it's constantly changing. Our idea was we wanted it to be a little like a movie theater. You wouldn't go see the same movie every week at the movie theater. So we wanted to change the museum to give people a reason to come back and visit us more than once a year.
Now, I know, unfortunately, you don't own all of those cars downstairs, but where do they come from?
The cars actually come from the people who restore them and the people who own them. And quite frankly, they have the cars restored and they have them in their garages or in their shops, and they like to share them with people. And a lot of people don't get to their shops and their restoration centers and their garages, so the people come to our museum and they can enjoy the cars for 6 months to a year. Then they go back to the owners.
I remember this past June at the induction ceremony, you made the comment about the fact of how hard it is to get inducted into this Hall of Fame. It's maybe one of the toughest next to the National Football League. How does that work?
Well, we are one of the harder Hall of Fames to get into. We're members of the International Sports Heritage Association, which is Hall of Fames all across the world, not just in America. And just by chance, the first membership meeting I was at, I sat next to the Football Hall of Fame man from Canton, Ohio, and they went around the room and asked people, how many people vote on who goes into your Hall of Fame? How many nomination committee members do you have? And everybody was saying like 6 or 4, maybe 8, maybe 10. A couple people said 2 or 3. And they got to the Football Hall of Fame, and he said, we have 122 voters in our Hall of Fame, and it's really hard to get in. And everybody in the room, all the other Hall of Fame directors gasped. And I was sitting next to him, and I said, well, we have 72 National Induction Committee members who vote on who goes in the Hall of Fame, and they gasped again. And when it was all over, the moderator said, you know, probably the guy from the Football Hall of Fame in Canton, Ohio, and the guy from the Racing Hall of Fame in Knoxville, Iowa, they probably have the most legitimate form of inducting people because they have a cross-section of people from across the United States. 25% of our voters are from the West Coast, 25% are from the Mideast, 25% are from the Midwest, and 25% are from the East Coast. So our voters are evenly cross-section across the country, so people can't say, well, you only vote for people from California to go into your Hall of Fame, or you only vote for people from the Midwest because you're in Knoxville, Iowa. It's a very good cross-section, and also our voting is a 2-step process. All the voters get a blank nomination ballot. They can nominate anybody they like that meets the criteria. You have to be 50 years old. And also, when those come back to me, I don't vote. I just go through and count the actual nominations, and those highest nominees make the final ballot. And again, I count those, and it's a 2-step process that's also checked by the president of our board of directors, so it's very legitimate.
Wow. Well, earning your way into the Hall of Fame is obviously very difficult, but there's lots of ways that fans can be a part of the Hall of Fame and the museum downstairs. What can they do?
Well, fans can be a member of the Hall of Fame for $35 a year. You can get a membership. The membership entitles you to free admission with a friend to the museum anytime you'd like to come through, as many times a year as you'd like to come through. Also, they get a newsletter every 2 months They get a 10% discount on everything that we have in the store and online. And there's just lots of other little features that we do. Like tomorrow, we have our members-only VIP reception where Dave Augerbright is going to be talking with Johnny Gibson about the history of Johnny Gibson with the World of Outlaws. And that's something that's only open to our members. And we kind of pride ourselves on that, to give our members something a little extra every year during the Nationals.
Of all the things you've done here with the museum, there's been some incredible displays, the Ascot one, Mario Andretti, AJ Foyt, so forth and so on. What's the one you want to do that you haven't done yet?
I think that for me personally, maybe would be a super modified exhibit, the history of super modified racing, because the cars are so unique, they don't all look the same, and a lot of the younger generation have never seen the sportsman type cars and the early sprint cars and the super modifieds that raced in the past. And I think that's part of our mission, is to promote the future and preserve the past. And I think when young people can see the history and see how the cars started to what they've evolved to today, to the winged super modified, the winged sprint cars, I think they're just going to be really astonished.
The National Sprint Car Hall of Fame and Museum is located just outside of turn number 2 here at the Knoxville Raceway in Knoxville, Iowa. And yes, the Hall of Fame is inside on the second floor. Down below are some incredible race cars and memorabilia. And when it comes to race cars, I think this is one of the coolest. Hey everybody, it's Ralph Sheheen here with Speed Sport live from the Knoxville Nationals, all brought to you by Toyota. Right now we're inside the famous Knoxville National Sprint Car Hall of Fame and Museum. This is one of the legendary 2 bleep boxes that the great Jan Opperman drove for Luke Bogart. Now, in 1972, Jan won 44 races out of 95 entered. Incredible stats, a record in sprint car racing. Some of the big wins that year came against this USAC contingent at Eldora, as well as the Western World out in Manzanita, and a big win at Williams Grove. The bleep box, Jan Opperman, Luke Bogart, one of the best and toughest sprint car combinations ever in the history of sprint car racing. This is AJ Foyt's 1974 to 1977 Dirt Champ car, owned by the Gilmore Racing Team and Sherman Armstrong. Of course, it's got AJ's legendary orange paint scheme and the number 14 on the nose. In 1972, AJ was the USAC Dirt Champ Car National Champion. He won the Hoosier 100 6 times and is, of course, one of the greatest names in the history of automobile racing. Jerry Niemeyer was the last man to race this car, and he actually became Rookie of the Year inside this car. But then after he succumbed and passed to cancer, the car was sold to Tony Stewart, who owns this beautiful race car now and has put it on loan here at the National Sprint Car Hall of Fame and Museum. If you come to Knoxville, you have to come by, if for no other reason than to see this beauty here. AJ Foyt's 1974 to 77 Dirt Champ car. Check out this beauty. This car was built in 1970 by Bobby Scruffy Allen. It was owned by Roy Morrill and driven by the great Smokey Snellbaker, who is a member of the National Sprint Car Hall of Fame and Museum right here. Now, this car was dominant in its day. Smokey won over 50 races with it, 3 track championships at Port Royal, all in a row, 2 at Hagerstown in Maryland, and every race he finished at Selinsgrove in Pennsylvania. Talk about some impressive stats. No wonder this car is here and Smokey is inducted upstairs here in the Hall of Fame. Ralph Sheheen with you, live from the Knoxville Nationals on Speed Sport, brought to you by Toyota. Back once again here at Speed Sport, live from the Knoxville Nationals, presented by Toyota. Time for our What's the Buzz segment, brought to you by Buzz Bicycles. Don't forget to go to buzzbicycles.com, put in that promo code SpeedSport100, and get $100 off your purchase of $500 or more at buzzbicycles.com right now. And we'll see you on your Buzz Bicycle next time you come to the racetrack like Mike Kerchner does. Okay, Mike, let's talk about what the buzz is around Knoxville this week. First of all, is this the deepest field of contenders you've seen in recent years?
Oh, I think it is. There are a lot of drivers with a chance to win this race. We start with Donny Schatz, Kyle Larson, Carson Macedo, David Gravel, Rico Abreu, and the hometown favorite, Brian Brown. And there are others that could do it if everything went their way, including Brad Sweet.
And that's the thing. You really got to have everything fall your way. Luck is a part of this.
Oh, yeah, it all started on qualifying night, starting with the pill draw. And from there on, you just had to run clean laps all night long and keep your car out of trouble and make moves when you could.
So is there one guy, as you look at that field, that you think you give an edge to?
So I'm giving the edge to Donny Schatz. He's won it 11 times. He knows this place better than anyone, and he can make his car go where nobody else can go.
That brings us to the question that everybody is talking about here, the real buzz here in Knoxville. If Donny does win number 12 and ties Steve Kinser with the most wins at the Knoxville Nationals at 12, which one of these two is the greatest driver in the Knoxville Nationals? Not overall, but just here in Knoxville.
Yeah, I think there's no doubt that Steve Kinser is the greatest sprint car driver of all time. But here at the Knoxville Nationals, at this event in August of every year, it would be hard to say Donny Schatz is not if he ties Kinser with 12, because he's won it in a lot shorter span of time, his 12 races, and really an unbelievable run that he's had.
Are you okay with who they had to beat? That doesn't come into the equation. Do you think Steve's era was stronger than Donny's or vice versa?
Well, personally, I feel like the cars are more even these days, and there's a lot of guys with better cars than there were back in the day when there were 3 or 4 in most years that had superior equipment. Now there's 8 to 10 with superior equipment.
Do you take a little bit away from Steve because he got to do it with Carl Kinser?
I wouldn't, no. I mean, they still have to form that bond. I mean, you know, Donny's done it with several different crew chiefs, and Ricky Warner, and now with Scuba, and I think you know, you have to form that bond between a crew chief and a driver to make it happen.
See, to me, I think that makes a little bit of a difference. Carl Kinser is as legendary here as anybody, and that's a huge advantage for Steve, whereas Donny, like you said, had to do it with a couple of different crew chiefs and figure out how to get that done. So maybe that is an edge in the tail of the tape for Donny.
I'll buy that, Ralph, and I think that's a good argument. You could also say that Donny Schatz is driven for better funded teams than what Steve Kinser did.
That's very true, too. That's The Buzz, brought to you by Buzz Bicycles here at the Knoxville Nationals. For Mike Kerchner, I'm Ralph Sheheen. So long from Speed Sport, live from the Knoxville Nationals, presented by Toyota. Enjoy the Nationals, everybody. See you next year.